Hello and welcome to the Recursive podcast. Our guest today is one of the most experienced product managers in the Bulgarian tech scene. Her name is Mariya Rashkovska and she is the head of product management of the Bulgarian Adtech company PubGalaxy. And last year, PubGalaxy was acquired by the Dutch scaleup Azerion. Prior to joining PubGalaxy, Mariya held management positions at companies such as Telerik and Financial Times. She is also the co-founder of ProductTank Sofia and a consultant who helps IT companies build successful products. Mariya, welcome to the Recursive podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's not very often to have people talking about IT companies that are basically not with a technical background. How did you end up becoming part of this very challenging yet so rewarding ecosystem?
Like you said, I come from a business background. So I joined the first IT company 15 years ago, about 15 years ago, I think it was 2004. And I was looking for a new position, and the IT industry seemed very exciting to me because I knew all innovation happens there. And I knew nothing about software development, anything. But I wanted to get in there. So I was looking at different software companies online, and I even didn't understand half of the positions that were advertised there, like a QA or a software engineer, support engineer, and so on. So I was trying to understand what this job is about, but I couldn't. So, but anyway, at some point, one of these companies actually approached me, and I knew it because I followed it like for 3 months before that. And they said they had an open position for a support representative to communicate with customers. And I decided to apply, although I didn't find the position exciting. But I wanted to get in there. So I went through different interviews, they liked me. And finally they asked me, why do you want to work this role, this job? And I said, I don't. I just wanted to get to know you. And then they asked me, okay, how do you imagine the ideal role for you? And I explained something like more challenging, more complex, more, more diverse projects with different people, and so on. So they decided to take a chance and give me the role of project manager, implementation specialist, who had to communicate with customers and be the intermediary between the customer and the engineering team. The thing is that they needed someone who understands the business of the customer and who understands their business processes and could talk their language, which a common engineer could not do. So engineers were very technical, very focused on their stuff. So this is how I started. Like I said, I didn't know a thing about software development, but together with the team, the engineering team that I worked with, I started gradually understanding different technologies, software architectures, even started doing some SQL, data migration and stuff like that. So it was a very exciting journey.
What led you into product management itself?
Actually, that first role was the first time I realized that I very much enjoy making a customer happy and enjoy solving very complex problems, business problems, through technology. So back then we didn't know what product management is. I don't think we had ever heard the term, but you can imagine that the skill set is quite similar. And at that point, I simply was doing my job well. I actually was very successful in that position. I received, unsolicited recognition by customers. And in some cases, I found out that I intuitively can, extract through the right questions, the answers from the customers, because they cannot always imagine what the right solution for them is. But if you dig enough further into the problems they have and you know what technology you have at hand, you can offer the right solution. So sometimes against their will, I was able to offer the right solution. And from this position, then gradually I took different roles that are similar. For example, as a business analyst, which is quite similar. Again, you have to dig into the problem, find the right solution for the customer, and so on. And I also enjoyed working on complex projects with that involved various teams at the same time. You have to prioritize things and so on. So I basically naturally grew into that position. I never focused and said, okay, I need to become a product manager. I just became one.
All right. I love the part when you said that you were asking questions, because the power of questions is, it is really a powerful tool to get to the bottom and to the core of the issue or the problem or the need. How do you validate that you have the necessary skills, and how did you treat the skills that you needed but didn't have at the beginning?
Yeah.
To do your job well, of course.
Yeah. Well, actually asking the right questions and the ability to interview, to conduct high quality interviews with customers is actually a very, I'd say, it's really a skill. Not everybody has it, but that doesn't mean you cannot be trained to do that. So there are certain, let's say, best practices, approaches, even books you can read on how to approach the different a customer interview. Like I said, in my case, I started naturally doing that. That doesn't mean that I didn't improve my skills later on when I heard that there is like a best practices and so on. But I would say to anyone who wants to learn this, there is theory out there. And how do you validate that you acquired the skill? Well, ultimately, you will find out whether you delivered value for the customer. And this is your ultimate validation. So if you delivered the value that initially you thought you could, then this is it.
What drives you to get better and better in your professional development?
My personal motivation? Well, first of all, like I mentioned previously, it is important to me to deliver value to the customer. So this feedback directly that I made someone's day better, I improved some metric, I delivered the business results. This is one thing that drives me. The second thing that drives me is pure curiosity. So I would say I like to learn new things every day. I like to do different things every day. And the work of a product manager is exactly that. So every day you have a different challenge, and you have a very diverse set of tools and tactics you can use to solve a particular problem. You have to communicate with many different roles, which is quite interesting because everyone has different expertise, and they can and they bring to the table an additional value. And not everyone can juggle between and communicate with so many different roles, like a technical role, sales and marketing, even customer support, and so on. So I would say the fact that this is a very diverse role is very exciting to me, and I cannot imagine doing anything else, actually.
You radiate confidence. So is this one of the skills necessary to be a good product manager, to have the confidence that you know what you're doing, and your experience and things that you know have been through?
Well, actually, it is very common among product managers, especially to have the impostor syndrome. And this is because, as mentioned, to be a good product manager, you have to have very diverse skills. So you have to understand technology, you have to have business knowledge and business strategy. You have to take into account and be able to understand the customer needs. And you have to balance between different stakeholders, strategic and tactical tasks, and so on. So there aren't perfect product managers. So usually you're good at one or two of those things, and you try to close the gaps on the other aspects. And that's why the imposter syndrome is very common in product managers, because they always feel they have something else to learn, like UX design, technology, business strategy, and stuff like that.
Not being good enough.
Not good enough, yeah.
How do you handle this for yourself?
Through constant learning. I read a lot. So whenever I have a new task or even a different context I need to do something for, I always go back to theory. So I have like a huge library of ebooks, and I always go back and reread something or buy a new one if I don't have one in the library. Remind myself of the best practices and try to apply this. Also, of course, I could consult with some peer product managers to see whether someone has already has an experience in that context and can provide some advice. So this is how I try to stay on top of things.
I love getting knowledge out of people that are around me doing similar or even better work than me. It's the only shortcut that I know. So you've briefly described what makes a great product manager: like constant learning, this ego check. Am I learning enough? Is there something new? And this confidence to keep doing and deliver value for your customer. Now you have this very important role in the PubGalaxy in the company. How would you define your leadership style?
Okay, so first of all, I try to use the strong sides of people. So I never manage around weaknesses. I try to see what is the natural skill of this person and what do they want to achieve personally, and try to align what I want them to do with that. So that's my first principle. And of course, this starts from hiring. So it's very important to know exactly what kind of skill set and what kind of attitude you want on the team for exactly that role. Otherwise, you'll make a big mistake. So not all product managers are made equal, and not all product roles are made equal. So depending on what exactly your project is, your type of product, what is the at what life cycle of the product you are in, you need a different skill set. And I have to say that in my current team of product managers, currently we have 4 product managers. All of them have a completely different skill set. So, and together they form this cohesive team that we need. So that's the first principle: hire for the right skill and let the strong sides drive your hiring. Secondly, I try to coach rather than instruct. So not giving answers, but trying to first giving a chance to the person to propose their own solution, or at least to challenge their thinking. I think this is the only way to develop people as professionals. And I think it's beneficial both for the company and for them. Because if I think this is the shortest path towards upgrading them, and in this way they would bring more value to the company.
Yeah, there's another highlight that I'm having in my mind. It's like context matters. So thank you for sharing that. In one interview, I bumped into a sentence by you that you like to go out with your colleagues for a drink, just to have a word and to have this their responses, like use a barometer if it's okay, like the relationship that you're having. So that's why I wanted to include some like interpersonal relationship in our conversation. What is important for you in regards to building relationships within the team?
I think an important thing to build a strong team is to have an openness and honesty within the team. So you have to be open for feedback, and people have to be comfortable sharing that feedback, no matter what. So I'm trying to do this and always listen to whenever I see someone's frustrated with something or maybe does not understand at that time the priority and stuff like that, or maybe disagrees with the priority and the strategy, which is also sometimes happens. So I try to talk this through, and this is important. The second important thing is, of course, to have a good atmosphere within the team. So we need to enjoy the ride. So that means, okay, we have business goals and maybe even hard deadlines and stuff like that. So of course, we have to achieve this, but also let's enjoy the journey in that direction as well.
What is success for you then?
Success?
If journey is important, then what is success like?
I think success is fulfillment. So what I mean is, yeah, you have to enjoy the ride. You have to be in control. You have to be able to decide what exactly you want to work on, who to work it with, and so on. That's work-wise related, but also you have to maintain the balance between your personal life and your work life. So in general, success is happiness, I would say.
How do you measure when a job is well done within the team? How do you say, okay, splendid?
Okay, so I guess there's two avenues to think here. Of course, the first one is, have we achieved the business results we had aimed for, or even exceeded them even better? So that's one indication that we've done a good job. Well, a second indication is, okay, we may not succeed every time because, getting the right product is hard. But did we apply the best practices in pursuing the right result? Did we do enough effort to find the right answer, even if we failed in the end? Failure is sometimes, okay, well, it's inevitable. The important thing is, did we actually have any lessons learned from that experience? Because this is what will give us the basis for our next try.
Would you be able to go back to a moment that something failed within a product that you were developing, or someone from your team, and you had a key insight there, lying as a not free, but a lesson, important one?
Yeah, well, of course, there's many different, you could say we failed many times. So I guess one example I can give is a recent project where we wanted to create an experience for, so to give you the context, currently our customers are media publishers, so websites that create content. So we decided at some point to focus on smaller publishers, for which we had to build some scalability features within the product, because of course, when you have a smaller customer, you have to have higher volumes and so on. So we didn't have much time to build it and not many resources, but we also wanted to approach it as an MVP. So we didn't want to do like a very huge development. We didn't want to invest huge development resources for that. So we gathered a small team, did the MVP, put it online, and actually, as a result of that, we had an additional learning that we did not expect from that experience. So the failure in that case was that we actually could not achieve the volumes we expect. So we built something for scalability, but the problem we had to solve was not scalability in the first place. So, but along the way, we learned that because we built that experience, we learned that there are actually many people that want to use it to onboard with our product this way. Previously, we assumed that because the industry is very complex, Our customers prefer someone to take them by the hand and to onboard them in a very, how to say, old-fashioned way with an account manager and so on. But then we found out that there are actually many publishers that actually want to self-service themselves. So this shaped our next steps and next strategy.
Sounds like a failure turned into a new product.
Something like that, yeah.
Awesome. Is there something like the right mindset for product management or building products or building the right products? And how do you build such a mindset within the team?
Yeah, well, to build the right product, you have to add value to a certain group of customers. So to be able to do that, of course, first you need to know, okay, what group of customers am I going to add value for? So you have to be very specific in defining what exactly group of customers you're aiming for. Secondly, because you defined very well that group of customers, you have to get to know their needs and problems very well. So sometimes initially you have an idea to solve a particular need, but then when you talk to these customers, you find out that this is not that important to them. And maybe they have a bigger problem that they would be more willing to pay for to be solved. In any case, you really need to understand the context of the customer, the need or the problem that you want to solve. And after that, you need to think about the various solutions that could solve that problem. So I would say the first thing is to be always in the shoes of the customer and very much understand their need. Of course, if you come up with the wrong solution, that could be a hiccup after that. So at a later point, when you propose a solution to the customer, again, you need to seek close feedback from them, and this way come to the right solution. But I would say the basis is understanding the customer first.
Yeah, while you were explaining, I was thinking, okay, it seems that this is a position for people with empathy and curiosity. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. We often hear from entrepreneurs and investors that we have great tech talent, but we lack the product mindset and skills for the Bulgarian ecosystem to grow and scale. Can you put a roadmap to how to get there according to your experience and knowledge, please?
Yeah. Actually, I think we are headed in the right direction in that perspective because, I think 7 or 10 years ago, things were much worse in that respect. Because, like you said, there were many. The tech talent was here, was available, but there were not that many product companies in Bulgaria. So there were no opportunities for product managers to learn or to experiment or to grow. So I think this is changing. So more and more product companies are entering the Bulgarian ecosystem. And what I'm also seeing is that, for example, the Western companies that open an office in Bulgaria, previously they just opened the development centers and they hired only technical positions. But now I see a difference and I see more and more product management positions opened. This is one thing I notice. The second thing is that more and more outsourcing companies want to develop their own products because they understand the added value for the business from this. So the demand for having such talent is increasing. Separately, as for what we can do to accelerate this development, I guess it again starts from education. So I would say we could and we should open such courses in universities or even in private academies. There is already we have started. I personally helped the Telerik Academy start such a course in product management, which has been a great success so far. And this is a good starting point to have the theoretical knowledge. But then these people will have to be given the opportunity to learn on the job from more experienced, more senior product managers. And I think this gradually will happen. But currently, I can see that most of the companies already are still looking for already developed senior product managers. So we need to start giving a chance to people that we see they have the right attitude and the right base skills, and coupled with some theoretical knowledge to start developing those. And also, organizations such as ProductTank, which Dido and I are leading in the past few years, also contribute to this development, because ProductTank, the concept there is knowledge sharing between product managers. So it's a community that is constantly growing. We can see a lot of interest in that. We organize free events for such people to be able to get to know other people, network, share their experience, or ask questions. And it's a great step. We actually helped increase awareness about the profession here in Bulgaria, because there wasn't any other community previously, and I don't think there is another one even now. So we helped people understand that there is such a role and what it is all about, and increase the interest in it.
Yeah, so education and environment. I was about to point you into this direction, because environment it's very important, like the mentorship that you're getting from people around or above you, but environment for people to share skills, and this mindset for, hey, I know this, I can help you with it, I'm looking for information regarding other things, is extremely productive. And I'm so happy that I know you, and now I know you and I know Dido. And a few weeks ago we had a conversation. He was like, you are going to be a very good product manager. I was like, why is that? You built a product out of nothing. You built your podcast like for 6 years. So yeah, this is great. Tell me a bit more about the ProductTank. For me, it's extremely important to build communities, because changing, like we are here in Southeastern Europe, but making a big change, people don't understand it, but it happens from like leaders that develop communities, that communities basically can get to more and more people. So it's like, it's a pyramid.
Yeah, well, I think it was like 6 years ago when Dido, my co-founder there, one day called me and said, do you want to start a product management community in Bulgaria? And I was like, I had just moved into my first formal product management position. And I was like, okay, let me think about it. And I thought he invited me because I had the previous experience running similar events for business analysts. So I did something similar for the business analyst community in Bulgaria. But later on, when I asked him, why did you invite me personally to be your co-founder? And he was like, you were the only product manager I knew at the time. And I was like, okay. So ProductTank is actually the biggest community of product managers in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It was founded in 2010 in London in a bar by 10 people. And so they felt the need to share knowledge and experience, because they also felt lonely in the profession and they had many challenges and so on. So they started these informal meetups. And later on, they decided to spread the same model into different countries. So the community, the form of the community is entirely based on volunteer work. So we work for free. We use only the brand of ProductTank, and we can communicate with other ProductTank organizers in other cities, in other countries. And in this way, we can network with like the top minds in product management in the world. So we are able to, for example, source a speaker from, let's say, the Silicon Valley, or from London, or from like a very big tech company to speak here at the local events. Things have changed a bit since the pandemic times, because we had to move entirely online. So previously we had on-site events, and they went very well. People were coming. There were informal conversations and so on. Right now, everything happens online, but we are looking for more ways to further develop this. So as a result of ProductTank, we also started doing a few years ago annual survey of the product managers in Bulgaria. So we wanted to see, okay, how many product managers are there in Bulgaria? What are their skill set? What are their challenges, and so on? What kind of companies they work for? What type of products, and so on. So when we did that study, I think that is one of the, one of the triggers to start this product management course in the Telerik Academy. Because based on this data, the guys from the academy were able to assess, okay, there is a need for such a role in Bulgaria, and maybe now it's time to organize a course, because the companies would be very interested in financing the further development of junior product managers, or creating new product managers, so to speak.
And from the product, of course, I'm going to go directly to the most, let's say, interesting for me, and not only me, question in the Bulgarian startup ecosystem. It's, of course, about our first Bulgarian unicorn. How would this thing, when happening, hopefully at least one, why not more, help the local startup ecosystem? Because these are companies that are in the talks at the moment that are product companies.
Yeah. I think several things will change. So, for example, first of all, everyone else in the ecosystem, like other entrepreneurs, startups, and so on, will see that such a huge success is possible in Bulgaria. So this would be one aspect of it. Inspiration. Secondly, investors will see that this is possible in Bulgaria. So I suspect that investment will increase, and it will give a chance to other companies to grow that way. And I guess thirdly, and we see that already from I would call it the Telerik heritage. So Telerik wasn't the first unicorn, but was the first biggest exit on the Bulgarian tech scene. And
I think it still is, isn't it? It still is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a $250 million deal, so it's pretty huge. And it had a similar impact. People saw that things like that are possible. But also all the alumni from Telerik, many of those founded their own startups. And actually, quite a few of them are actually the runners, the runner-ups for the next unicorn, for the first unicorn in Bulgaria. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of them becomes the first unicorn.
Yeah, breaking the mindset and the barrier that people put in themselves is very important for me too. And the spotlight being highlighted as a place that can develop unicorns will be absolutely an amazing added value to this personal and team success, of course. I imagine that being a product manager requires you to be very productive. You said that you have a lot of communication, but you also need to understand technical stuff. You need to read to keep yourself up to date. Do you have any tips and tricks for productivity, or something that you can share with our listeners and viewers?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there is no such thing as multitasking. I think that there is even, scientific proof for that. So what I try to do is focus at one thing at a time, mostly. Secondly, I try to always keep in mind what is the next most important thing. So that could be like weekly planning or even bi-weekly planning, which is personally for me to basically take a look at, okay, what do I need to do next? And reserve some place in my calendar for that particular thing. Also, in our profession, it's very important to have some focus time. So I try to block time in my calendar, particularly to think, not just to absorb new information, not to complete a certain task, but to to just stop and think. Okay, are you doing the right thing? What should be the next thing we do, and so on. And like you said, also, if I identify that I need to read something new in order to do something, to do something in a more productive way, I would reserve time for that as well. So this is it: ruthless prioritization, focus time, and do not multitask.
Yeah. How do you keep yourself like turned off of distractions? Do you use some kind of Pomodoro, or you're just disciplined and you can say, okay, I'm doing only this thing and nothing bothers me?
No, I don't use anything in particular. I just make sure I turn off notifications because Slack can be very annoying sometimes.
All right. Is there something that you do to keep yourself focused? Like, do you put some music on or some sounds, or you need absolute silence to work in?
Yeah, it's very interesting because previously I did listen to music, but I found that it's distracting. So currently, what I do is, like you said, silence and focus. This is it. If actually I could recommend doing some meditation from time to time. I think this is very beneficial, and not just meditation, exercise. And meditation, I would recommend, because this is what gives you additional energy, and it can focus your mind as well. So to be able to do a lot of work at the same, not at the same time, in a short period of time, you have to mind your energy levels. So I also do that. If I see that, for example, in the morning I'm kind of slow, I don't plan for very mind-intensive tasks in the morning. I know that my energy levels in the afternoon, for example, are better, so I schedule the hard tasks there.
How do you rest and recharge?
Through a lot of sports, and mostly going out in the nature. So I do a lot of hiking, skiing. In the summer, we do kite surfing, stuff like that. I also do very much enjoy dancing. Unfortunately, during the pandemic times, this is not that possible. However, these are the ways I recharge, because we sit all day in front of a computer. I try to be very physically active outside of that.
Awesome. Yeah, another bonus of the local ecosystem is the wonderful nature that we have here in Southeastern Europe. And you have mentioned these like remote work. And do you have any tips for leaders that are having teams around the world, basically? Because now your team might be all like Bulgarians, but spread around everywhere, in Turkey for kitesurf, or in Thailand, or wherever.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. I personally don't know the answer. I'm looking for it. I can see that the entirely remote work, what we are losing there is the informal communication. So I think the best way is to have like a hybrid model of working, where people from time to time can get together and do something in a more informal setting. Otherwise, I don't think that can be recreated in a remote setting, so to speak. We try to do some, let's say, formal brainstorming sessions, or we try to, let's say, when you watch something like an online conference or something like an additional webinar that can be inspirational, additional new ideas can come from that. But I would say if you don't reserve a dedicated time to follow up on these ideas, they will never happen. So maybe a recommendation would be set aside time for inspiration and for brainstorming. Other than that, try to do some hybrid work.
Awesome. Mariya, where do you want to see yourself as a professional in 5 years?
I never had such a plan for myself. I think the most exciting thing about life, I would say, is to not know what is coming next. So I always have always like pursued the next interesting opportunity that can bring me to the next level. And if that's interesting and challenging, then I take it. So I don't know. Maybe I would be CEO of a company, or maybe, I don't know, even start my own startup.
And where do you want to see product management in Bulgaria in 5 years then?
I would like to see, how to say it, many more rounded product managers, but not only product managers, many more experienced serial entrepreneurs that have successful products in their background. So I very much think that product management and the entrepreneurial skill set are one and the same thing. So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to know what product management is and how to do it.
Mariya, it seems to me that you have such a vast experience in product management. Have it never went through your mind? Did it never went through your mind to build your own startup?
It has, actually. I have a very keen interest in startups. And as you probably know from my background, that I've, let's say, helped several accelerators to teach product management to their startups and so on. So that I find this very exciting. I personally also have pitched a few ideas at some entrepreneurial competitions and even won a couple of ones. But I think so far I have not found like the one startup idea that I don't find the flow in. So I need to be convinced from the very beginning that this is like a high impact idea and it's worth pursuing it in order to have the energy to actually follow it. That's one of the reasons why I haven't done it. And secondly, I think that starting your own company on your own is very hard. So I think the best would be to have a co-founder, at least in the beginning, because the beginning is probably the hardest part. Because if you're all alone, you go around in your head in circles, and there is no one to, to pass the ball with, and to challenge yourselves and to continuously develop yourselves.
And to support yourselves.
To support yourselves, exactly. So I actually have a couple of attempts to join a couple of friends to start something. But I always knew that it wasn't sustainable, because in both cases it was a consultancy business. It's not exactly a technology product, which would be scalable. And if I start something on my own, I want that to be like a digital product thing.
And consultancy is not scalable because there are people. And
exactly.
People are bottleneck.
Exactly.
Awesome. In your personal perspective, having had so much experience in the great companies here in Bulgaria, and now being part of one of the greatest successes of 2021 in the local ecosystem, Is there something in our product companies that are getting more and more, of course, like a niche that we are really good at? Something that we don't take, basically, we don't recognize that we have.
Yeah, I think I've read statistics previously, and I've heard feedback from investors as well that in Bulgaria, most of the expertise is B2B, which is very surprising to them because, especially in the Silicon Valley, there is a lot more B2C startups. And I think there is an explanation for that. It's because, in Bulgaria, the market is very small. You wouldn't be able to have a very scalable thing if you focus only on the Bulgarian market through B2C. So this is one thing that comes to my mind, which is they actually, investors which I talked about it, they actually find it to be a good thing, because apparently in other markets, this is not the case. So maybe we should be using that expertise and focus on such ideas. And I think the hottest startups currently in Bulgaria are doing exactly just that.
Yeah, I do agree, and I can see the point for the market and focusing on where the one cell really can be your supporting rocket. So this is a great point of view. Is there a difference in your mind between like a physical product startups that we have now, like Dronamics, and software product companies like PayHawk, GTM Hub, SMS Bump, etc.?
Is there a difference? Depending on the perspective, of course, there is. Startups with product that is a hardware that has some hardware in it, apparently are much more capital intensive and much more difficult to scale, I would say. So this probably, but of course, this on the other hand, because it is hard and capital intensive, probably makes it less competition intensive. So it is, if you are able to find a very difficult problem to solve and you can solve it in a better way than everybody else, then immediately you have an advantage. Take a look at Elon Musk, for example. So he's tackling a very complex and expensive problem.
Problems, I must say.
Exactly. So no one else had challenged the assumption before that. Okay, when you build a rocket, we had the assumption that it's a one-time thing, so it can never go back to Earth and be reused again. While he approached this problem and he solved it. So when you make a big bet like this and you succeed, I guess the return on investment is much higher than on smaller problems.
Awesome. And we go for our favorite question, of course. What would you like to be remembered for?
I would like to be remembered. I actually enjoy very much coaching and transferring my own knowledge. So I think I would like for the people that worked with me and were able to accelerate their career because of working with me and my coaching and leadership, to be able to say, this is the person that helped me to get where I am today.
Influencing others. Amazing. I wish you have more of this, and so you can lead a happier life. And thank you for being and sharing your amazing experience and knowledge on the Recursive podcast. I hope that our listeners liked it and they will be able to get more inspiration in our next episode next week. So Mariya, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Tune in next week for the Recursive podcast when we meet with the CEO of Oscar-winning software company Chaos, Peter Mitev.
Well, we've had that challenge many times before. Hey, you're coming from Bulgaria, so...
Oh, you did? Really?
Yeah, we had, but the fact of the matter is that in our industry, interestingly enough, it's very internationalized for a very long time. The visual effects industry, when you go to an average studio in the US, Canada, UK, you actually people coming from all over the world. And these are very smart people, because building a computer graphics studio is actually, it's not easy at all. You need smart people to run it, you need smart people to operate, you need smart people to visualize, you need a lot of smart people in each and every area. And because of that, people don't really care where you come from. You're either are delivering or you're not. They don't care about the reasons, they don't care where you come from. And if a product delivers, who cares where it comes from? For them, it's a lot more important that you support them and they trust you. And obviously, Bulgaria is definitely not known to be a very trustworthy destination in general. But
and especially not for design or visual stuff, I think.
Visual stuff, correct. But fact of the matter is that the product's been very well accepted for a very long time now, that I don't think everybody, by today, nobody really cares.
No one cares, yeah, that's true.
And if you are just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.